Hello, sports fans. I'm Pfenning, along with Alex Molden. It's another episode of Oregon Football Weekly. We're into week number 7, so the season's coming to a very exciting close. And we've got, of the 8 teams, there's 6 of them in the playoff running, including 4 teams tied at 3-3 going into this week. There's 2 of them playing one another. That's Klamath playing up at the Oregon Outlaws. Should be a really good game, going to have a lot of impact on the playoffs. But first, let's go through our players of the week. On offense, we got Chance Kao from the Oregon Outlaws. Last week, 23 carries, 152 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Also had 3 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown through the air. They, unfortunately, though, he needed to kick a few extra points because they lost 33-32 at the Rogue Warriors. Gave up a touchdown with 1:07 left in the game. And that was a big loss for them. Big win for the Rogue Warriors. They got a couple of big games though that they got to win just to make the playoffs. But that's our offensive player of the week.
Defensive player of the week is Johnny Jones, who's a cornerback at Umpqua Valley. He had 4 interceptions, 2 for touchdowns. Wow. He had 3 tackles, 3 passes defended, and win over Springfield. Wow, he had a big day.
He had a big day.
4 interceptions.
That's unfortunately for Springfield. That's the second time a player's had 4 interceptions on him. So
might want to run the ball a little bit more.
Sean Turner, they actually got a good running back. They're just a little unfortunate on some of those passes. So getting towards the end of the season here, you got some personal recollections of that excitement of getting ready for the playoffs?
Well, you know, it always like the last quarter of the season. You know, things start to pick up a little bit. It's more intense because it's you're fighting for that that playoff spot. And sometimes just it comes down to the last game. So it's definitely it gets more intense. There's different levels of intensity. Start of the season, it's intense and whatnot. But then on through the year, you're starting to try to build a foundation, and at the end, when the last 1 or 2 games where it's really everybody has to be clicking at the same time at the same level, and it's who wants it the baddest.
So off the field, us fans, we're all looking at that scoreboard. How much were you looking at the scoreboard for other teams?
For other teams, well, you know what, you start to, you want to take care of business on the field, of course, but if you're up and you're feeling pretty good about yourself, there is a tendency to start looking up and see, in your division, who's up and who's down, and you start to become more of a fan. That's one of the things that I really enjoyed about, towards fighting for that playoff spot, because you're an athlete and you're competing and whatnot, and you're in the game, and but then you also start to become a fan and you start to kind of root for some teams more than the others.
So that's the upside. Now we played on a few teams that weren't making the playoffs. How much? So you go into those games and can we just get this season over, or you start going and going, what? If we upset these guys, maybe they aren't going to make the playoffs. So let's go smack them hard.
Well, you know what? On my end, it was more like I'm playing. I'm always getting evaluated. At the professional level, you're always getting evaluated. So those coaches, those GMs, they know who's slacking, who's not. So, there is a pride issue at stake. So, we always want to, get the win. Never thought about, ending the season or whatnot. You always want to finish on top, no matter if you're 0-15 and going to that last game, you still want to win. But ultimately, you have to try your best, and you have to get the job done.
And you were never 0-15, by the way.
No, sir.
We got a couple of players today from the Vancouver Vipers who have come along to show up. We got Trey Moreland and Nick Crawford. You guys want to step in here? So Vancouver, they got a big game this week up against Portland. How you guys feeling going up against Portland?
Well, it'll definitely be a lot better than the first game for sure. We're getting a little more prepared, and I think it'll make it more of a ball game.
First game was kind of a blowout. I don't know, score-wise, it wasn't so much of a blowout, but on the field, it was definitely a one-sided affair. Portland won to Nick and Trey here. Now, the one thing I do remember about the first game is you guys got a couple of touchdowns, and they were both on the defensive end. So defensive, you guys have played pretty good. Last week had had 3 scores against the High Desert, against the Bend team. And how are you feeling defensive-wise? That seems to be the big challenge with opponents facing Portland, is stopping them on offense. How are you feeling defensively?
We know that they got a high-powered offense, so it's kind of up to defense to kind of keep us in the game. I think, honestly, it's going to be our defense versus our offense, and if we can stop them, it should be an interesting game.
All right, that's the game I'm going to be at. The other big game, of course, is Klamath playing up at Oregon. How you guys excited about the playoffs, or how much are you going to be watching? I guess it's kind of hard to watch the scoreboard in our league, but how much you watching the other team, that Oregon and Klamath score? Are you going to be paying attention to that?
Most definitely. We want to see who we end up playing first round.
Wow, you're assuming you're already going to make the playoffs.
Hey, you got to. You got to stay positive.
All right, the last thing here, we're going to bring in my USFL, spring football. You guys remember the USFL at all? Probably around before you guys were even hatched. That was been a while. So one of my things I got here is Portland Breakers. Just was very much into the Portland Breakers. Just love that team. Still got all my ticket stubs from those games. Got my USFL football, of course, right there from the very first touchdown they ever scored. And I got to go back to a couple weeks ago. I was talking about the league title game, and I had Billy Joe Hebert from Michigan. It actually was Bobby Hebert. Bobby, I'm sorry about that. And Billy Joe Tolliver, I'm sorry I got your name mixed up there too. So, alrighty, hey, that's going to be it for this.